Welcome back, guys. In this video we're actually going to be creating the roles, and we're actually going to be using Axios to send the request to our controller. From there we save it into the database. In the previous video we get the list of permissions from the database and we look through them and to create this checkbox right here. And in this video we are going to be creating the roles, so let's get started. And before we start, I want to say, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do, and turn on notification to actually get notified whenever I'm adding a new video. Let's get started, guys. And if you go over to the first thing I need to do is actually set a default header for Axios. I don't want to be typing the whole URL whenever I'm making a request, so I'm just going to copy this right here, and I'm just going to remove this for now. There is something I want to show you guys. And if you come to Bootstrap, let's just set our default header right here. And right here I'll say default. Now I'll say base URL is equal to. So that's all. So if we should go over to our roles, you see we just have the get permission right here. And if we should refresh, we should get an error. Yeah, we're not getting anything. And if you should check this right here, this has actually been appended to localhost/role, and this is not the URL we want. If you should check this right now, we have the localhost/root/get of permission, and we're not going to be getting any response from that, because that's not the URL we actually want. And the reason for this is because we didn't attach the /. And what actually happened here is that, from my own experience in routing, if you have a URL, you actually declaring a URL without the /, is going to append it to whatever URL that is preceding what you're declaring it on. For example, if we have a URL that says role crate, and you now declare a new URL, is going without the /, is going to create like get all permissions. It's going to append it to the URL preceding it. But if you use the /, it's just going to append it to the base domain, which is this. So hopefully you understand this, and I don't know any other way to explain this. So we need to attach that get URL and refresh the page. Actually, it's not great. I think it's great. Yeah. So let's just send that. Yeah, so we've gotten the response, and we've gotten the permission, and you can see them right here. And the next thing we need to do is actually sending those permissions and sending those requests to our database and saving them. But I want you guys to understand something first. So the reason why I use Bootstrap View is because I want to use the font checkbox, and this checkbox can actually accept arrays of data, and Bootstrap View actually does a lot more than that. You can go over to the documentation and read through, but I'm just using the font checkbox. If you should come over to this we should come over to our view tools and actually check what I'm talking about. You come over to the roles and come to permissions. Here you're going to see create roles. It has created an array for that, to another array and another array. So this is the reason why I use this, because the checkbox can accept array and post it as an object, and that's why I use the bootstrap view. But it actually does a lot more than that. You can go by there and use it. I actually use the button too and that. So that's the reason why I used bootstrap view. And the next thing, let's just start sending our request. And also in the last video we installed vform, and I told you we're going to be using the vform to send a post request to our database, to our routes rather, and we're going to get those requests and send it to our database. So let's get started building all these things, and it's actually going to be fun. So let's the first thing we need to do is say this .form .post, and this will just go to post row, and that's all. So this is all we need to do. And if you're using Axios directly, you might have to say Axios.post, and you will declare the URL post.row. Then you will have to declare the form data. So we say form data. But since we are using vform, we don't need to do this. This is just going to, the form is actually going to submit itself. This form is actually referring to the object we've created here, and it's actually going to post all these the values in this variable right here. So let's just say / because we don't want to make that mistake with our routing. And yeah, so if this is successful, if the request is successful, I have to actually get I'm not getting a response. I'm actually going to say I want to send an alert showing a success message, and this will be success. And this is just going to be saying that row created, and this will say your row has been created, and that's all. Then if we have an error, I have to catch those errors and say catch those errors and say and bring out so I have to catch those errors and bring out an error message saying something went wrong. And yes, so let's just do that right now. So let's just do that right now, and yeah, so that's all. So we need to create this URL right now, and I'm just going to say it's good. This will be post row, and I'm going to be using the row controller. Now I'll be using the store method. So if we should go back to that to that method right here. So let's just try and return a string. Let's just return the request. Let's say return $. So let's try to send the request right now, and let's refresh this. So let's just click, yeah, let's see. So we have empty request. Let's send this. We have the name. Let's try and send this again. We have the permission, and let's send this again. So you can see the arrays of permission that we got, and that's the reason I used Bootstrap view I've told you earlier. And so the next thing we need to do is actually validate those inputs. And to do this, it's actually easy. If you go over to the documentation for the view form, you're going to see that it's the same way you validate. You do your normal validation that you validate input here. So to do that, we actually need to call this validate, and this will take two arguments, which is the request and also an array. So let's say name. Now I want this name to be required. I also want it to be a string. I want it to be unique to the rows table. So that's all I want it to be. And I want the permissions to be nullable. And the reason for this is that I don't want it to be required. I want a user to be able to create a row without permission, and if the user wants, it can add permission, it can assign permissions to those rows. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And when we're actually building the user page, you can actually assign a permission to a user directly, and a user with a row can also have the permission assigned to those rows. So when we get to creating users, you're actually going to understand this better. So the next thing, let's just test this validation out. Let's remove this and see if we get an error. So we get a 422 error, which is unprocessable entity, and this is actually returning the error that the message given was invalid. The name is required, but we didn't actually specify that the permission must be required. So actually the error message isn't showing here, and that's because it's not visible. If we should check this right here and check the block, you're going to see the error message is actually showing, but it's not visible because the display is none. We need to change it to block, and that's the message right here. So I'm just going to do some styling, and I want it to the background to be somewhere red. I want it to be deeper than that, and I want some padding on it. So this will be 5 pixels to 12 pixels. This will be, let's just make this 10. So I think 10 is okay, and I think you need to apply some border radius, radius of 5 pixels. I think let's make it 10. Looks good to me, and I can just copy the whole of this. So we need to go back to our CSS file and paste this right here and just wait for that to compile. So if we should go back to, let's just wait for that to compile. Yes, we should refresh right now and try sending a request. Yeah, so we got that message right here. And in the rows, if the user passed that validation, I want to return okay. Let's just say okay, and let's try sending this with some data. So if we should come over to this, we got that okay button, the okay message. So let's just actually save the row right now. I'm just going to create a variable called rows. Now I'll say this row. So if you remember, we actually create a variable taking the row model. So we actually need to create that right now and say create. And this will take an array. And actually, I'm not going to say name. It's got to $request name. And you can just use the create and use the request all. I'm just going to say request. Actually, you can't use the request all because we have permission. Yes, this is the best way to do it. And yeah, so the next thing we need to do is actually save the permission. If the user decides to assign a permission to the row, we actually need to save the permission too. So I'm going to use an if statement for that. And I'll say if $request as, and if it has permissions, I'm actually going to save that permission. So I'll say $row, the row that we assigned here, to save this, and I'll say give permission to, and I'll say $request permissions. So we're taking the whole object and giving permission to, and this the Laravel permission is going to handle that for us. And if you should go to the documentation, the method I used is just somewhere here. Just free to, there's a lot you can actually do with the basic use. Okay, this is it. So row give permission to that, and I think that's how you do it in yes. So after all that, I want to return a message. I want to return a response rather, and this is just going to be a JSON response. And I'll say I'm actually not going to return an array. I'll say okay. Row created, and the status code will be 200. So let's try to create that permission, that row rather, and let's just call this admin, and let's just give it some rows, and let's create that. So rows has been created, and let's check created, and let's check our database for the rows. Loading. Yes, so you can see the row admin web, and if we should not check role as permissions. So you can see this role with an ID of 3, which is the admin has 3 permissions. So that's what I'm talking about the other time. And right now, after creating the roles, I need to redirect them to the roles index page. To do that is simple. We need to just create. I think there is an error here. Yes, there is an error here, which I didn't see earlier. I'm just going to fix this right now. So the error is this actually need to be assigned to the then function, not this. And I think that's clear right now. And I'll say window.location is actually going to be row. So these are, and if I should refresh, so let's just create a new user. Let's call this editor, and the editor we only have the right to the user, the permission to create and modify the user. So let's just save this. So saved, and we are redirected. So we've created the roles. So we've created the roles, and if you check this role only has 1 permission, and that's this permission with the number 2 ID, which is the create user. And that's all on creating admin, and that's all on creating roles. And in the next video, we're actually going to be creating the users page right now. But right now, this current user is not assigned to any role. There is no role assigned to this user, so we need to assign the role to the user first, then create the user page. So we'll be doing all that in the next video. And so hopefully this video has been informative to you, and please subscribe to this channel to see more videos. And so I'll see you in the next video. So bye guys.